Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the glamorous, scandalous, and endlessly captivating world of Los Angeles fashion and romance. Today is a beautiful day to unravel the tangled webs woven by our favorite characters, and the drama we are about to unpack is nothing short of breathtaking. The heavy, suffocating blanket of deception can only cover the truth for so long before the frayed edges begin to unravel, exposing the dark reality underneath. For weeks, the viewers of The Bold and the Beautiful have watched a tragedy slowly taking shape, a ticking time bomb meticulously hidden behind forced smiles and desperate vows of silence. The marital foundation of Carter Walton and Daphne Rose Walton has been tested by fire, battered by medical tragedies, and fractured by geographical distance. Yet, nothing could have prepared the audience, or Daphne herself, for the catastrophic emotional explosion that has just detonated within the walls of their home. The fragile illusion of a repaired marriage has been shattered into a million irreparable pieces, leaving behind a trail of devastation that will permanently alter the landscape of Forrester Creations and the lives of everyone involved. To truly understand the magnitude of this betrayal, we must first look at the heartbreaking journey that brought Daphne back to Los Angeles. Not long ago, Daphne sat in a sterile medical office, listening to Dr. Lee Finnegan deliver a diagnosis that felt like a death sentence to her dreams. Early menopause and severe infertility. In that single, agonizing moment, Daphne's vision of her future, a future filled with the laughter of children sharing her and Carter's DNA, was mercilessly ripped away. Consumed by a functional depression that clouded her every waking moment, Daphne made a choice born out of profound, misguided love. Believing she was a broken burden holding Carter back from his lifelong dream of biological fatherhood, she packed her bags and fled to Paris. It was an act of self-sacrifice, a desperate attempt to free the man she loved, so he could find a woman capable of giving him the family he so desperately craved. However, distance and time away in the city of light brought Daphne a renewed sense of clarity and resilience. She realized that running away from her vows was not the answer. She recognized that love, true love, meant fighting through the darkest storms together. Daphne returned to Los Angeles with a healed spirit, a fiercely renewed commitment to her husband, and a beautiful new vision for their future. She had made peace with her medical reality and had fully embraced the idea of adoption. She returned ready to build their family through love rather than biology, enthusiastically researching adoption agencies, poring over brochures, and eagerly discussing nursery colors. She was vibrant, hopeful, and entirely oblivious to the fact that the home she had returned to was now built on a foundation of unforgivable lies. While Daphne was in Paris, Carter was left drowning in a toxic cocktail of grief, abandonment, and profound loneliness. He felt discarded by the woman he had vowed to stand by through sickness and health. It was during this period of immense vulnerability that his path collided with another broken soul. Steffy Forrester Finnegan had just fled Monaco, traumatized and heartbroken after discovering that her husband, John Finnegan, had hidden the presence of the dangerous Sheila Carter on his flight. Steffy had thrown her wedding ring at Finn on the beaches of the French Riviera and boarded a commercial flight back to Los Angeles, self-medicating with alcohol to numb her severe PTSD. When a shattered Steffy and a grieving Carter found themselves alone at Forrester Creations, the shared agony and the intoxicating haze of alcohol led them to cross the ultimate line. They engaged in a passionate, steamy affair, a desperate attempt to feel something other than pain. In the sober, horrifying light of the morning after, they made a desperate pact to take their secret to the grave, vowing to protect their respective marriages at all costs. But secrets of that magnitude are living, breathing entities, and they demand to be heard. As Daphne excitedly chattered about adoption profiles and the beautiful future awaiting them, Carter found himself completely unable to breathe. Every joyous smile his wife offered him felt like a physical blow to his conscience. Every enthusiastic plan she made for an adopted child twisted the knife of guilt deeper into his gut. Carter is, at his core, a man who prides himself on his honor and integrity. The cognitive dissonance of acting the part of a devoted husband while harboring the ultimate betrayal was slowly eroding his sanity. He could no longer look at Daphne's hopeful face without seeing the monstrous reality of what he had done in her absence. The breaking point arrived on a quiet, tearful night in their apartment. The atmosphere was thick with an unspoken tension as Daphne sat surrounded by adoption paperwork, her eyes shining with the promise of motherhood. The sheer purity of her hope was the final catalyst that broke Carter's resolve. The burden of his deception crushed the breath from his lungs, and in a moment of pure, visceral agony, Carter Walton dropped to his knees. The physical manifestation of his guilt was profound. Tears streamed down his face, his broad shoulders shook with uncontrollable sobs, and the polished, composed executive was reduced to a broken, desperate man begging for mercy before the altar of his wife. When the words finally tumbled from Carter's trembling lips, they sucked the oxygen entirely out of the room. He confessed to the affair. He admitted that during the darkest days of her absence in Paris, when he felt he had lost her forever, he had sought comfort in the arms of another woman. He confessed that the woman was Steffy Forster Finnegan. The admission hung in the air, a toxic, suffocating cloud that paralyzed Daphne. The sheer impossibility of the statement short-circuited her brain. Her husband, the man she had rushed back across the globe to fight for, had slept with one of the most powerful, prominent women in their inner circle. But the horror of Carter's confession was not yet complete. The infidelity was merely the opening act of a tragedy that was about to completely destroy Daphne's reality. Carter, still on his knees, his hands reaching out in a desperate, pathetic plea for understanding, dropped the ultimate bombshell. Steffy is pregnant. She is carrying his child. The biological child that Carter had dreamed of his entire life, the child that Daphne's body had cruelly denied him, was now growing inside the womb of Steffy Forster. The revelation struck Daphne with the force of a physical blow, a catastrophic emotional earthquake that shattered the very core of her identity as a woman and a wife. What followed was a display of psychological audacity that borders on cruelty. Blinded by his desperate, lifelong yearning for a biological child, and twisting his logic to justify the unjustifiable, Carter made a request that defied all boundaries of marital respect. He looked into the eyes of his barren, heartbroken wife and begged her to see this horrifying situation as a fateful gift. He pleaded with Daphne to look past the betrayal, to look past the infidelity, and to embrace this unborn child as their own. He asked the woman whose heart was bleeding from the trauma of infertility to raise the child he had conceived with another woman during a drunken affair. Carter framed the pregnancy not as the ultimate betrayal, but as a twisted miracle orchestrated by destiny to give them the family they had always wanted. The sheer audacity of Carter's plea triggered a complete psychological collapse within Daphne. The woman who had spent weeks in Paris mourning her inability to give her husband a child was now being asked to play mother to the living proof of his infidelity. It was a request so profoundly insensitive, so deeply rooted in Carter's selfish desires, that it snapped something fundamental inside Daphne's soul. She realized in that agonizing moment that her husband did not truly understand her pain. He saw her infertility not as a shared tragedy, but as an obstacle that he had successfully bypassed through his betrayal. The realization that the other woman was Steffy Forster Finnegan added a layer of toxic, burning hatred to Daphne's grief. In Daphne's eyes, Steffy was not just a coworker or a friend. She was the enemy. Steffy is a woman who seemingly has everything. She possesses immense corporate power, wealth, beauty, and she already has 2 beautiful children, Kelly and Hayes. Steffy's life is a testament to abundance, while Daphne's recent journey has been defined by profound, devastating loss. The idea that Steffy, a woman who already has a family, had carelessly engaged in an affair with Carter and effortlessly conceived the child Daphne could never have, was the ultimate, unforgivable humiliation. As Carter remained on his knees, pleading for a future built on the ashes of her dignity, Daphne's sorrow miraculously evaporated, replaced by a blinding, volcanic rage. The hatred erupted from deep within her chest, a primal, protective fury that incinerated any remaining trace of the hopeful woman who had returned from Paris. She looked at the man she loved and saw only a stranger, a selfish coward who had not only broken his vows, but had the unmitigated gall to ask her to clean up his mess and call it a blessing. The thought of raising Steffy Forrester's child, of looking into the eyes of a baby every single day and seeing the reflection of her husband's betrayal and her own physical inadequacy, was a psychological torture Daphne absolutely refused to endure. Daphne's reaction was explosive and visceral. The walls of their home echoed with the sounds of a marriage violently tearing itself apart. She rejected Carter's twisted narrative of a fateful gift with absolute disgust. She made it abundantly clear that she would rather walk through the fires of hell than raise the child of her enemy. The betrayal was absolute, severing the deep cords of trust and mutual respect that had once bound them together. Carter's confession, intended to cleanse his soul of guilt, had instead unleashed a hurricane of hatred that now threatens to permanently destroy their fragile union. The implications of this explosive confession extend far beyond the walls of the Walton home. The revelation of Steffy's pregnancy is a ticking time bomb that will inevitably detonate within the Forrester and Finnegan families. John Finn Finnegan, who has been desperately fighting to save his marriage to Steffy after the catastrophic events in Monaco, is completely oblivious to the fact that his wife is carrying another man's child. Finn's desperate promises to keep Sheila Carter away and his profound declarations of loyalty to Steffy are now entirely overshadowed by a betrayal of epic proportions. When Finn discovers that his traumatized wife sought comfort in the bed of Carter Walton and that a new baby is on the way, the fallout will be apocalyptic. Steffy Forrester, who has been fiercely guarding this secret and doubling down on her vow of silence, is about to find herself at the center of the most destructive scandal Forrester Creations has ever seen. Her hypocritical demands for absolute loyalty from Finn, while secretly harboring the ultimate betrayal, will destroy her moral high ground and potentially cost her everything she holds dear. The carefully constructed facade of her life is crumbling, and the impending exposure of her pregnancy will force her to face the devastating consequences of her reckless actions. As for Carter, his desperate gamble to turn a sin into a blessing has failed spectacularly. By unburdening his conscience, he has effectively destroyed the woman he claims to love. He is now forced to face the horrifying reality that his actions have not only ended his marriage, but have irrevocably damaged the lives of everyone involved. The baby he so desperately wants is now the catalyst for a war that will tear friendships, marriages, and families apart. The audience is left breathless, watching as the shockwaves of Carter's confession ripple through the lives of these beloved characters. How can Daphne possibly survive this level of emotional devastation? Will her hatred consume her, or will she find the strength to walk away and rebuild her shattered life from the ground up? What will Steffy do when she realizes that Carter has broken their pact of silence and exposed her darkest secret? And how will Finn react when the truth about the paternity of his wife's unborn child is finally brought to light? This storyline masterfully explores the darkest corners of human emotion, delving into the agonizing complexities of infertility, the destructive power of secrets, and the catastrophic consequences of betrayal. It challenges the characters to confront their deepest flaws and forces the audience to question the boundaries of forgiveness. As the storm continues to rage in Los Angeles, one thing is absolutely certain. The lives of Carter, Daphne, Steffy, and Finn will never be the same again. The damage is done, the truth is out, and the battle for survival in the wake of this ultimate betrayal has only just begun. Stay tuned, because the drama is reaching a boiling point, and the fallout will be nothing short of legendary.